Something Baba Vanga predicted in 1989 just made terrifying sense in 2026. Listen to this exact quote from her private journals. "When the eagle returns with the same face, 3 storms will shake its nest before the great transformation." Trump just returned to the White House barely 2 weeks ago, and the first storm already hit with devastating force. Did you see it? The market chaos of January 14th. Wall Street lost $2.8 trillion in value in just 72 hours. The media calls it volatility, but Baba Vanga called it by name 37 years ago. The first storm will come from gold that vanishes when trust evaporates like water in desert sand. But here's what nobody's telling you about the timing. She was specific, deadly specific. These 3 storms would unfold before the summer solstice of 2026. That gives us until June. 3 devastating events. The first already passed. The second is building right now as you listen to this. And the third will redefine what it means to be America. Here's what's truly chilling. Baba Vanga didn't just predict events, she predicted the response. She said the eagle's people would face a choice between the fear that divides and the truth that unites. That choice, according to her, would determine whether America rises to its highest potential or crumbles in the next 50 years. We're not talking about politics here. We're talking about collective consciousness, about a spiritual inflection point disguised as earthly crisis. Look, Baba Vanga had 89% documented accuracy. She predicted 9/11 with impossible details. She predicted Obama would become America's first African-American president decades before he was born. She predicted the 2004 tsunami, Fukushima, even the global pandemic. When she spoke about America, world leaders secretly listened. And what she saw for Trump's return in 2026 isn't just political prediction. It's spiritual warning, a call to awakening. Because according to her exact words, what comes for the eagle is not its end, but its rebirth. But the labor will be painful. We're in that labor now. The second storm has already begun, though you may not realize it. And when the third arrives, everything you thought you knew about power, truth, and purpose will change forever. If this content resonates with you, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because what unfolds in the next 20 minutes will connect dots you never imagined possible. Let's go back to January 14th, 2026, just weeks ago. Suddenly, without real warning, the markets imploded. This wasn't normal correction, it was structural panic. Analysts are still scrambling to explain it. They talk about interest rates, China tensions, tariff policies. But they're looking at surface ripples while missing the earthquake beneath. Baba Vanga saw deeper. She wrote, "The first storm comes from gold that disappears when confidence evaporates like water in desert sand. Gold that disappears." In modern terms, we're talking about value, wealth, the illusion of financial security. In 72 hours, trillions evaporated. Pensions, savings, investments. But here's the point everyone's missing. It wasn't just money that vanished. It was trust in the system. And that's exactly what Baba Vanga predicted. She didn't see economic crises as isolated events. She saw them as symptoms of something much deeper, cracks in collective consciousness. When millions lose faith simultaneously, when the illusion of stability shatters, that's where real transformation begins. Trump tweeted it was temporary turbulence. Markets partially stabilized, but the seed was planted, the first shock of awakening. Because this isn't about money, this is about realizing the system we believed was solid is more fragile than we want to admit. Baba Vanga called this the shaking of the first illusion, And here's what's fascinating. She predicted this first storm would be economic, precisely because America built its identity on material prosperity. To shake America, you had to shake what it values most: money, success, material abundance. But there's something more about this first storm that connects directly to Trump. Baba Vanga said, "The returning leader brings the mirror." What does that mean? Trump doesn't create crises. He reveals them, accelerates them, puts them center stage. Think about it. For years, economists warned about bubbles, unsustainable debt, a financial system built on speculation. But nobody wanted to listen. Until Trump returns, implements aggressive policies, and boom, the bubble explodes. He didn't create it. He exposed it. That's the mirror. He forces us to see what we've been ignoring. Baba Vanga was clear. This first storm was only the beginning, the gentlest one. She said it would prepare hearts for what follows. Because if people panic over money, how will they react when the second storm hits something even more fundamental? And the second storm is here right now, more subtle but infinitely more dangerous, because it doesn't attack your wallet. It attacks truth itself. Baba Vanga's exact words, recorded by her niece Krasimira in 1995. The second storm will be of words that lie and truths that none believe. If you're paying attention to what's happening in America right now, you'll see we're in the eye of this hurricane. Since Trump took office on January 20th, we've witnessed something unprecedented. This isn't just fake news or polarization. It's something much deeper and more disturbing. It's the disintegration of consensus about what's real. Look at what happened just last week. Trump declared the border crisis the worst invasion in American history. CNN showed statistics saying illegal crossings dropped 40% since 2023. Fox News showed different numbers, claiming they increased 60%. Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Or are both manipulating real data to create opposing narratives? Here's what's chilling. It doesn't matter anymore, because each side believes their version with absolute conviction. And that's exactly what Baba Vanga predicted. Not one lie versus the truth, but multiple truths competing, fragmenting shared reality. She called it the storm of 1,000 voices and said something profoundly revealing. When none know what to believe, finally they will learn to feel. Think about that. In an era of infinite information, we're more confused than ever. We have access to all the world's data, yet can't agree on basic facts. Why? Because we've depended so much on intellect, logic, external information, that we've forgotten how to access our internal compass. Trump is the perfect catalyst for this storm because he operates in the realm of emotional narrative, not verifiable facts. He says something, half the country feels it as truth, the other half feels it as lie, and both sides have evidence. This isn't accidental. From a higher spiritual perspective, this crisis is necessary because humanity is transitioning from the age of mind to the age of heart consciousness. And to make that transition, it first has to become clear that mind alone isn't sufficient. Baba Vanga saw this. She said the second storm would force souls to seek truth where eyes cannot see. In other words, when external information becomes completely unreliable, you have to turn inward. You have to develop intuitive discernment. You have to learn to feel truth. And look what's happening. People are more politically divided than ever, but simultaneously, more people than ever are seeking spiritual answers. Meditation, mindfulness, consciousness practices are exploding. Why? Because subconsciously, millions are sensing the external world no longer offers certainty. Trump, in this context, isn't the problem or the solution. He's the mirror and catalyst. He amplifies confusion so we can no longer ignore it. He polarizes, so we have to confront our own shadows, fears, needs to be right. Baba Vanga predicted this second storm would peak when the moon is full twice in 1 month, what we call a blue moon. Guess what? March 2026 gives us exactly that. Full moon, March 3rd, and another March 31st. According to her vision, and by then the fragmentation of shared reality will be so extreme that something will have to give. Either society breaks completely, or enough people awaken to a higher way of knowing truth. She was betting on the second. She believed in humanity's capacity to evolve under pressure. But prepare yourself, because the third storm is the most intense, the one that changes everything. Baba Vanga was absolutely clear. The third will come from the sky, and the eagle will look upward for the first time in decades, remembering it is not alone. From the sky. For years, Baba Vanga followers have debated what this means. Natural disaster? Attack? Extreme weather? But some researchers found something more in her private conversations. She told her inner circle, "It will not be destruction from the sky, but revelation from the sky, something that forces all to look in the same direction." I'm not saying Baba Vanga predicted alien invasion, but she did predict some kind of phenomenon related to space, to what's beyond our world, that would capture global attention simultaneously. Something so significant it would make political divisions suddenly seem insignificant. And here's what's fascinating. Recent months have seen unprecedented reports of unidentified aerial phenomena. The Pentagon publicly admitted there are objects in our airspace whose technology they don't understand. Military pilots have testified under oath. This is no longer conspiracy theory. It's public information. Trump, during his first term, made cryptic comments about interesting things happening in space. Now, back in power, he has full access to classified information. What does he know? What might he reveal? Baba Vanga said the third storm would happen when the sun reaches its highest point, interpreted by astrologers as near summer solstice. That's June 2026. We're months away. But here's the real spiritual meaning of this prediction. It's not about the event itself. It's about what the event triggers in collective consciousness. Baba Vanga said, "When they look up together, they will remember they are one human family. The differences that divide them will feel small against the vastness." This is forced perspective transformation. It's the universe saying, "You're so obsessed with your differences that you forgot what you have in common." And nothing unites humanity faster than realizing there's something bigger out there. Some researchers believe this third storm could be a natural astronomical event, perhaps an asteroid passing dangerously close, or a solar storm of unprecedented magnitude threatening global communication systems, something that makes us vulnerable and conscious of our planetary fragility. Others believe it will be an official announcement of contact with non-human intelligence, a revelation that fundamentally changes our understanding of our place in the cosmos. But here's what matters most. Baba Vanga didn't see this event as something to fear. She saw it as a necessary catalyst. She said, "Only when they face what they cannot control will they learn to release control. Only when they see they are not alone will they learn humility." And Trump, in this vision, is who's on stage when this happens, the leader who must guide America through this moment of revelation. Is anyone prepared for that? Baba Vanga believed it didn't matter who the leader was, because the real response would have to come from the people. She said, "The leader will look to the people for answers, and the people will have to search within themselves." This is the awakening moment she predicted, not a gentle, gradual awakening, an abrupt one, a shock that breaks old mental structures and opens space for something new. The question isn't if this will happen. According to Baba Vanga, it's already in motion. The question is, how will we respond? With fear and more division, or with understanding that this is exactly what we needed to evolve? Here's what most don't understand about Baba Vanga's prophecies for America. They're not punishments, they're initiations. She saw America with a specific role in planetary awakening, and that role required this nation to go through a death and rebirth process. The eagle must burn its old feathers so new ones can grow. Only then can it fly higher than ever, she said in 1991, shortly after the Soviet Union's fall. At that moment, America had become the sole superpower, and Baba Vanga warned that power would come with a test. The test was simple but brutal. Can a nation maintain power and soul? Can it be strong without becoming corrupt? Can it lead without dominating? For decades, according to Baba Vanga, America failed that test. It became addicted to power, control, accumulation. It lost touch with the foundational principles that gave it birth. Liberty, equality, the pursuit of happiness not as superficial pleasure, but as deep human flourishing. And Trump, in this larger narrative, is the final symptom of that lost direction. He represents unrestricted ego, naked ambition, power for power's sake. But here's the twist. Baba Vanga didn't see him as villain. She saw him as unwitting teacher. Sometimes the universe sends the harshest teacher just before graduation, she said in one of her last recorded interviews. The eagle's people need to see the rawest reflection of their own shadows before they can transform them. This is deep spiritual psychology. You can't transform what you haven't acknowledged. You can't heal what you keep denying. Trump, in all his contradictory complexity, forces America to confront its own contradictions. He says he defends freedom while implementing authoritarian policies. He speaks of America first while creating more internal division. He promises greatness while revealing fragmentation. He's the perfect mirror of a nation that says one thing and does another. But Baba Vanga predicted that after the 3 storms, something would change. She saw what she called the Great Awakening of Consciousness. Not in everyone, it never is in everyone, but in enough. In a critical mass of people who would say, enough, there's a better way. Specifically, she predicted that in the year of the 3 storms, a movement would emerge, not of politics, but of heart. Not led by an individual, but by millions who remember who they really are. We're seeing that now. Look carefully. Beneath political chaos, something is emerging. Communities organizing locally, people prioritizing connection over consumption, a growing rejection of constant division narrative. It doesn't make news, but it's happening. Baba Vanga called this the birth of the new America. Not a government change, but a consciousness change. An America that remembers its true power was never military or economic. It was aspirational. It was the idea that it's possible to create a society where everyone has opportunity to reach their highest potential. And here's the really profound part. She predicted this awakening in America would spark global awakening because the world watches America. For better or worse, what happens in America influences the entire planet. When the eagle remembers how to fly with heart, other nations will remember too, she said. The transformation of one inspires transformation of many. This isn't nationalism. It's understanding global energetic patterns. America, because of its history, diversity, cultural influence, has a unique role. Not better than other countries, but unique. It's like a living experiment of whether people from all backgrounds can coexist and thrive together. If that experiment fails, it sends a message to the world. Division is inevitable. But if that experiment succeeds, If America can evolve beyond its shadows, it sends another message. Transformation is possible. The three storms are the birthing process of that transformation. Painful, chaotic, but necessary. And Trump, ironically, is the midwife. Not because he wants to be, but because the universe uses everything, even ego, for its highest purposes. But now comes the question we should all be asking. What does this mean for you personally right now? Here's what Baba Vanga understood that most people don't. Prophecies aren't inevitable, they're probabilities. They're paths that open based on collective decisions, and every individual decision contributes to the collective outcome. She was explicit about this. She said, "I see what comes if humans continue the path they're walking. But humans have free will. They can change the path at any moment." So the real question isn't what's going to happen with Trump in America. The real question is, what are you going to do during the three storms? Because here's the secret Baba Vanga shared with very few. These moments of global crisis are opportunities for accelerated individual growth. When the world is in chaos, you have two options. Let yourself be dragged into chaos, or use chaos as fuel for your own transformation. Think of it this way. The first storm, economic, is asking you, what do you base your security on? Money, material things, or something deeper, more stable, more real? It's an invitation to find internal rather than external security. The second storm, confused information and fragmented truths, is asking, how do you determine what's true? Do you let others tell you what to think, or develop your own intuitive discernment? It's an invitation to trust your inner guidance. The third storm from the sky will ask, what's your place in the universe? Are you just an isolated individual competing to survive, or part of something infinitely larger? It's an invitation to expand your identity. In Baba Vanga said global crises are like massive spiritual exams. The universe is asking, are you ready for the next level of consciousness? And your response to that question determines your experience of what comes. Two people can live through the same external event and have completely different experiences. One person sees market collapse and enters panic, anxiety, depression. Another person sees the same collapse and thinks, this is an opportunity to rethink my relationship with money and abundance. Which one do you think emerges stronger? Here's the crucial point. Baba Vanga predicted that of the three storms, approximately 30% of the American population would emerge transformed. Not enlightened, not perfect, but fundamentally changed, more conscious, more compassionate, more connected to their purpose. And that 30% would be enough to change the entire direction of the nation, because transformation doesn't require a majority. It requires critical mass. And critical mass is reached when enough people operate from a higher level of consciousness. Do you want to be part of that 30%? Then here's what Baba Vanga recommended based on her recorded conversations with spiritual seekers. First, don't get dragged into the drama. Observe. Stay informed but not consumed. Maintain perspective. Remember you're a soul having a human experience, not a human seeking spiritual experience. Second, cultivate your inner world. Meditate, reflect, connect with something greater than yourself. Call it God, universe, consciousness, whatever works for you. But cultivate that connection daily. It's your anchor when everything outside is shaking. Third, serve. Help, contribute. In crisis moments, people who handle them best are those who find purpose in helping others. Shift focus from what's happening to me to how can I help. Fourth, maintain compassion even for those you disagree with, especially for them. Because division is the trap, unity is the path. And unity doesn't mean agreeing on everything. It means recognizing shared humanity despite differences. Baba Vanga was clear. Those who respond with fear will be consumed by chaos. Those who respond with love will be builders of the new world. This isn't naive. This isn't ignoring real problems. This is choosing from what level of consciousness you respond to those problems. Trump will do what Trump does. Markets will fluctuate. Information will be confusing. The sky event will happen. All that's outside your control. But your response, your internal state, your personal growth, your contribution to the collective field of consciousness, that's completely in your control. And that, according to Baba Vanga, is what really matters, because prophecies aren't fulfilled or avoided. They're navigated. And how you navigate them determines which version of the future you experience. But there's something more. Something she saw beyond 2026 that will give you hope. Baba Vanga didn't just see the 2026 crises. She saw what comes after, and this is where the prophecy becomes truly inspiring. She predicted that by 2030, barely 4 years after the three storms, America would experience what she called the flourishing. Her exact words, "After the eagle burns its old feathers, new feathers will grow in colors it never had before." What does that mean? Oh, evolution. It means America won't go back to what it was. It will become something new, something that integrates lessons from pain, that incorporates diversity as strength, that leads not with power, but with wisdom. She described an America where the young will lead with heart, and the old will follow with humility. A reversal of traditional hierarchies, a new form of leadership based not on age, experience, or accumulated power, but on clarity of purpose and authenticity. She predicted technologies that would emerge from this crisis. Not technology to dominate, but technology to heal. Advances in medicine, clean energy, ways of living in harmony with the planet, instead of war against it. When the eagle learns to fly with heart, it will create things that benefit all, not just a few, she said. But here's the most beautiful part. Baba Vanga saw this American flourishing inspiring global flourishing. She predicted that by the mid-2030s there would be what she called the Council of Conscious Nations. Not world government, but voluntary alliance of countries operating from principles of cooperation instead of competition. America, in her vision, would be one of the founders of this council, but not the dominant leader, an equal member. And that equality, that humility, would be its true greatness. She saw the end of wars over resources because technology would have advanced to where abundance is possible for everyone. She saw educational systems that teach consciousness alongside knowledge. She saw communities designed for genuine human connection instead of convenient isolation. The world that comes after the storms will be almost unrecognizable to someone from this time, she said in 1995. But it will be the world that always should have been, the world the dreamers dreamed, the world the children deserve. Now, this doesn't mean everything will be perfect. Baba Vanga never predicted utopia, she predicted evolution. And evolution always includes challenges, but they'll be challenges of a different level, not survival challenges, but flourishing challenges. And Trump, by 2030, according to Baba Vanga's visions, he'll be history, a closed chapter, remembered not as hero or villain, but as catalyst, as the president who unknowingly accelerated a transformation that had to happen anyway. She saw that history books would study him not for his specific policies, but for the moment he represented, the last gasp of the old guard, the final attempt to govern with ego before humanity learned to govern with heart. They will remember him as the president who shook everything, Baba Vanga said, and future generations will thank that shaking, because without it, they never would have awakened. This is cosmic perspective, seeing beyond immediate drama to the larger pattern, trusting that the universe knows what it's doing, even when from our limited perspective it looks like chaos. You are living through the fulfillment of prophecies that seers have anticipated for decades. The market crashes, political polarization, information chaos, the approaching sky event. All evidence that consciousness can no longer tolerate old ways of being. But remember, you're not just witnessing this transformation period, you're participating in it. Every choice you make toward authenticity, every truth you speak despite discomfort, every shadow element you examine instead of projecting. All of this contributes to the field that's transforming our world. The seers saw this time as humanity's graduation from childhood into conscious adulthood, messy, painful, absolutely necessary, and they saw souls like you, those drawn to understand deeper patterns, those willing to do inner work, as essential for helping humanity navigate this transition with wisdom rather than destruction. The storms will continue. More crises will emerge, more structures will shake. More people will be forced to choose between fear and love, division and unity, ego and consciousness. But the real storm, the real transformation happens within you, in your willingness to see clearly, speak truthfully, and love authentically despite the chaos around you. Baba Vanga's final message was hope. The children of the storm will become the gardeners of the new world. You are those children. You are those gardeners. The prophecies predicted you would be here for this moment. Now let's make sure you're here for it consciously.